Welcome to Path to Recovery. I am Apryl Chapman Thomas, chatting with David Whitaker of Choose Chicago. Thank you, David, for joining us today. Before we get started, tell us a little about Chicago as the destination.
Well, you know, April, months ago, I probably would have a whole different conversation about any destination in tourism and hospitality. All the events that have happened in the last several months have changed a lot of the dialogue about destinations. So, you know, first we'll start with what every destination is at its core. It's that great experience that travelers either are looking for, remember fondly from their previous visits, or something they really aspire to do. And we'd like to think that Chicago has a lot of those things to offer, right? We're one of those great American cities, right in the middle of the country, so accessibility has always been a big asset for Chicago. We're the playground of the Midwest. For many of your listeners, they may know that already. A very drivable city from the neighboring states. That may be perhaps more important than ever in these current moments. Forgive my clock chiming, at least we know it's the top of the hour. What we also know is that Chicago has a lot of things that it's quite famous for. We'll start with food, we'll end with food. We're a wonderful food city. We know how important food is to so many, it's how important it is to the visitor experience. And whether it's the world famous hot dogs that we're known for, no ketchup, but we're really a great food city, and a lot of aspiring and prominent chefs who have put their stamp on Chicago. Clearly, we're a music city when you think of blues and jazz, and gospel and soul and house music. And again, those are the kind of experiences that we know that visitors aspire to enjoy. Now that we're dealing with COVID, what's even more important, I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about this morning, is we're a safe city. And that's going to be more important, how we open responsibly, right? And I'll talk with you about what we're doing in Chicago with our Tourism and Hospitality Forward program. But it's really an initiative to make sure that our attractions, our restaurants, our venues, our facilities are prepared in this new, I hate to say new normal, everyone's using that phrase, but our visitors feel that they're being cared for when they arrive. There's social distancing, there's crowd control, there's spacing, there's protocols in place for the employees of the venues, and all that preparation is underway to make sure that as we slowly reopen, and as the United States, quite frankly, reopens, that's something I'm sure you're hearing a lot about and talking a lot about with a lot of your colleagues, how we can open responsibly and serve our guests so they can still have those great experiences under today's unique situation.
Well, thank you. That provides a good leadway into the initiative, the Tourism Hospitality Forward initiative. Tell us a little bit about that, how and why it got established and what it does.
Well, I mean, we're an association. Choose Chicago is just like a lot of the the destination marketing organizations that I know that you routinely interview and collaborate with. So we're an association of about 1,500 partners, organizations, restaurants, hotels, attractions, other venues, facilities. We just pretty much created a coalition. People signed on by signing a pledge simply to do the things that need to be done. And we're sharing best practices with each other. We're doing webinars so that some venues and facilities that perhaps are smaller may not have the human resource bench strength or the resource depth of knowledge. And so we're sharing best practices on how to make sure that everything from crowd sizing and moving people through venues safely, again, social distancing, such a big part of that, right? Along with the masks and those kinds of things. Just to really be prepared and then promote that preparedness so that when people, what we've learned from a lot of the research is that now an incredible percentage of people, before they plan their trip, they're going to websites and they're researching. We know that's important. And so we're on our website at choosechicago.com. We have a whole portfolio of information about how to make sure that people know that they'll be safe and what are the practices and protocols in place so that when visitors arrive, they know they and their families can have a great experience.
How difficult was it to establish the initiative, or was everybody ready? Because that meant the first way forward of slowly opening up. I mean, Chicago's large. You have so much, your food scene, sports scene, music scene, everything. How do you try to get them all together? It's like wrangling cats, trying to get everybody all together to say, guys, if we want to reopen, we need to do this.
Well, you know, kind of that's what any coalition is. At the end of the day, it's a coalesce around something, And so whether you're a large venue, small, whether you're the United Center and home of the Chicago Bulls, and again, those kind of things that are on hold, right? That's a great example. Professional sports, very different now, without crowds and without fans. But at the end of the day, regardless of your size, the one thing that everyone can coalesce around is preparedness, right? And it's an easy sell, because who doesn't want to be prepared? Hospitality, at the end of the day, it's about customer service. It's about making sure that our customers feel wanted, feel safe, and that their needs are met. And obviously there's some very specific needs that are part of the coalition to make sure that as people come back to doing the things they love, they can do it in a safe environment.
Now, you said the coalition gave like webinars, information. Where was all this sourced from? The CDC, various places?
Our webinars, we brought in panel experts. One of our webinars, we had it with our attractions and leaders, and we had attractions from Germany and New Orleans that had opened sooner and had gone through the exercise, right? And so they were providing some of their insights. We had a wonderful panel on technology, all the things that now venues need to know, if no more than 200 people can be in this space at one time at an attraction outdoors, for example, based on whatever the states, each individual state and city have different size requirements, bans on gatherings of larger than 50 or larger than 100. And so with those gathering requirements and crowd requirements, technology can play a big role in terms of how you count foot traffic. And timing and sequencing so that people are coming in and out and that you're never overcrowding a venue. So we had a great panel on technology. We had another panel specifically on parking. Again, as a major drive city, and more people are driving to their first vacations, unfortunately with what's going on, the airlines are under a great deal of challenge. And as people are driving to a city, things like valet parking and safe touchless parking, so that, again, we're making sure that all the protocols are in place with the new health and safety practices that are being put, good common sense practices, but also a way to make sure that we're marketing and promoting Chicago as a responsible place to come back and visit.
Let's segue into that really quickly about the marketing. I mean, is that what it is now? Is Chicago safe, or how did the marketing change?
It's funny. It's almost like I will say it's like a dimmer switch. It's not as bright, and then you keep turning it and it gets brighter. No destination could come out right in the middle of all this. And then you add to that the George Floyd protests and all that's transpired in that space, Black Lives Matter and the different protests that are going around the country. And so we can't just, open a brochure or run a commercial that says, hey, everything's great here, come on back, we're the greatest city in the world. That would have been irresponsible and insensitive. So we have to have a message that is sensitive to the very challenging and very concerning times we're in. And so what we've done in our messaging, it's called One Chicago. What a surprise! Again, cities have to come together to heal, health healing, COVID, heal with some of the unrest that's been going on in the country, and then open responsibly and open carefully. And so our new URL is Only One Chicago, because really there should be only one one coalition of people together, welcoming people back and getting back to the things that we love to do in terms of the vacations and tourism experiences that we love to offer.
And what has been the feedback? Have you gotten any feedback from visitors that have been able to drive in? Any like, oh, thank you, or this is great. Have you heard anything?
I think the first feedback is actually people arriving, right? And so we watch very carefully. People vote with their pocketbook, right? They vote with their wallet. And so we are seeing slow progress. 4th of July weekend, our hotels got back up to almost 40% occupancy. By the way, a year ago, 2 years ago, to say you were down 40%, 80% occupancy would have been horrific. But in this very challenging time, that was a bit of a ray of hope that our hotels saw 40% occupancy. It has settled back down now. We're in the mid to upper 20s. So this is still a very challenging time. But again, we're slowly growing. We were in the single digits, weeks ago. Illinois is fortunate in that we're one of those states like New York that has gotten a little bit on top of. There's no gloating or we're not proud that we're ahead of the rest of the recovery process. We perhaps started sooner with our governor and our mayor in the case of Chicago, very strict, stay-at-home orders in place, We were early into that process, perhaps earlier than some of our southern partners. And so we're earlier in the recovery process, as you know, and as people, as your listeners are monitoring that around the country. There's still a great deal of uncertainty. So we have to be very careful. And like I said, over and over again, we have to open very slowly to make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves. But the numbers and the reaction is going to be based on engagement. We've seen great traffic to our website, which again is a great barometer of customer engagement. They're looking for that information about what's open safely, what are the new requirements. And then so we'll continue to grow. I'd love for you to touch base with me in a couple of weeks and months as we are all slowly, very carefully reopening. That dimmer switch will get brighter and brighter in the weeks and months ahead.
And you're going to celebrate every little milestone along the way, right?
Yes, inch by inch, inch by inch.
It is. It might be too early to ask this, but looking back, is there something you wish you did differently, that was done differently?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if enough time has transpired. We're all kind of, there was not a manual, if you will, a playbook of here's what we're going to do in terms of reacting to and marketing through and promoting out of COVID, right? This has been a very unique and new challenge for just so many, in fact, perhaps all of us. So I'm not sure it would be done differently. I know that what we've learned from this is just how important transparency, a clear communication, authenticity. We talk about that a lot in the tourism space. Some cities are better at it than others. Some cities are about glitz and glamour. Some cities are about fantasy. I think people are looking for authentic experiences. That's an evolution of the new generations of tourism that we're seeing. Authenticity is so important, but transparency and authenticity will play a big role in making sure that visitors and families and friends who travel together are coming to a city and being part of a destination where they know they're safe and their health is the number one priority.
Well, as we wrap this up, what is your parting words of wisdom or advice that you would like to share to those in the industry?
Well, again, we're in the hospitality business, so please come visit us in Chicago. Learn more about us at choosechicago.com. We know that tourism and hospitality have always been, whether it was after 9/11, whether it's been after economic challenges. At the end of the day, people want to have that vacation. They want to have that visitor experience. They want to be with their loved ones, their family, their friends. They want to see exciting places. They want to perhaps have a distraction with all that we have to worry about today. And so the destinations that I think will do well are those destinations that can provide those great experiences. Again, as a city like Chicago that's so easy to drive to for the proximity and our geographic location, we're a very walkable city, and that's going to be a different, everything from mass transportation to flying to crowd controls, all those new elements, right, that will make us, if we do it right, Chicago can be a very inviting and welcoming city. And we invite your listeners to come visit us, or at least learn more about us at choosechicago.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for the great work you do in telling our story.